Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, all praise, and all glory to Yahweh Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Rachak, Wadash. Double honor to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutation to the hopeful elect tabernacle of David, scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. And hope you brothers and maybe you few sisters, might have kept the Passover. Hopefully I had a blessed Passover. It ended tonight, sundown, and now we're going into our original Sabbath. But there's a lot of heavy signs, that we're witnessing, during this season, and that blood moon. I'm pretty sure that signified a lot. So that's why we we look up and get comfort, because like the scriptures say, for your redemption draw nigh. And we're measuring the times diligently as it is written, because we're getting close. And this is basically another update. All right, counting down to the third woe, which is the final world's war that's going to take place according to a prophecy, which is going to result in the end and destruction of Esau, Edom's kingdom, and Babylon the Great, being the primary target, of that destruction. So this is from the Sun, and this is basically what I'm responding to. And matter of fact, I'll try to leave a link to this in the description box. And this is based on Europe. All right, the sentiment in Europe right now, with all the tension and conflict going on between them and Russia, which we all know is the bear, all right, known as Gog. When you read Ezekiel the 38th chapter, how the Lord's going to align them with other smaller countries, and they're going to be a guard to them, and they're going to basically become a force to rival against the beast, and which is going to result in a showdown, a world war, where there's basically no winners. All right, ultimately Yahushai and the elect are going to be the winners, because that's who's going to rule the world to come. In this particular world war that's going to happen, that's what's going to end this current world, ruled by Esau E. So you see the heading, it says survival guides, mass evacuations, huge bunkers, and conscription, which conscription is another way of saying military recruitment, enlistment, basically because it's that time. All right. Russia has been having a series of back and forths with Ukraine, and they've been pushing them back, further attacking cities, attacking power plants, basically important infrastructures, key infrastructures, in Ukraine. And this is why, they got Trump trying to broker, a peace deal with Russia, for them to come to a ceasefire. But we all know that that's not going to happen, especially if the Lord didn't sanction it. And a matter of fact, let me just get a quick precept. And this is Proverbs 21:1. And it says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Showing that the Lord, he's in control. He can put, certain ideas and thoughts into your mind. All right. So when you try to call for peace, the scriptures say, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come. So right now, they're trying to, Trump trying to play it like he's the voice of reason. He had that little theatrical showdown with Zelensky at the Oval Office weeks ago. All right, and it was definitely over this situation that you see happening, and they eventually had to patch things up, and they had to give in because they have deals with America. All right, and a lot of these European countries, they starting to figure out that at this point with Donald Trump representing America right now, Babylon, we might have to look out for ourselves. So we're going to have to start putting our money and our resources into this military complex, especially on the defensive end, because Russia, they have all the artillery for the offensive and the defensive. Russia is very strong, and they have strong allies. China, Iran got the uranium, and it even talks about a possibility of them attacking their nuclear arsenal, and certain whistleblowers and guys like Tucker Carlson, he's warning America against doing that. What it can actually cause, what it spells for America. All right, so this is all part of the escalation, and this is rumors of war. Which, matter of fact, I'll just get that real quick. Get Yahushai's words, and I'll read it in the NLT. And it says, and you shall hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. All right, because we're still waiting on this devil to hurry up and bring in the MOTB, because the system was already being rolled out. All these different pilot programs and these different rollouts for the CBDC and blockchain cryptocurrencies. That's all going to be on that same system. So we're waiting on them to do that and do away with the the fiat currency, and that's when everything's going to move pretty quickly. But right now, everything is just building up. All right, so that's how we know that the end is not going to follow immediately. Since nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. You got the Houthi rebels. They're really a proxy army for Iran, and basically Trump is pretty much giving warning to Iran that any attack from the Houthis, we're going to basically take it as an attack from Iran. And so that pretty much heightened the antennas over there in Iran. All right, so Iran is pretty much the next spot to look at, and they've been warning for years that that's one of the major regions that they want to conquer. All right, and that'll really help secure them in successfully getting their Greater Israel project. So that they can secure all that extra land over there, get the pipelines, get the resources. And Iran has been in the way, their proxies. So, Iran is they play a very pivotal role in this whole thing, and Russia happens to be, their biggest one of their biggest allies. Okay, and when you read Ezekiel the 38th chapter, which I'm not going to go to it in this one, it tells you that Gog has to be a guard unto them, Persia, along with Libya and Ethiopia. So, we're seeing these things come to fruition. It says, nation will go to war against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. But all this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. So going back to the article, so you see that the beast, all right, NATO, the EU, they're basically in the heart or in the mind of preparing for a war. All right. So it says how European countries are gearing up to fight Russia as calls for Britain to bring in conscription growth. So they want to, enlist more people into their armies and their services. It says the continent is rearming as it fears Vladimir Putin is only years away from a war to push NATO out of Eastern Europe and rebuild the Russian Empire. Those old Eastern Bloc countries that used to be a part of the Soviet Union, they're afraid that with them, the way they're handling Ukraine, and they're gaining even more footing as they're attacking and conquering more land, more territories in Ukraine. They're fearing that it's going to happen to the whole Eastern Bloc. So now is the time to start, getting their equipment in order. Start beefing up their military, get more soldiers. We need more men, that's battle tested and ready to have boots on ground if need be. Men that can be good with the use of their technology and so on and so forth. So going down here it gives you a map of what the plan is. It says preparing for war, European nations are getting ready for World War III. And you see the map right there. All right. They got survival guides. You got where they want to rearm, conscription plans, nuke plans. So you know that those arrows is definitely a part of this. Pursuing the Isaiah 9:5. It says that this one shall be fought with fuels of fire. Okay. And almost every developing country or great country, they're holding that bow, that arrow. All right. And on that final day, the Lord's gonna, put the spirit on them all to just let them go. All right. That's when all those arrows are going to be shot from one end of the earth to the other. And when we all read about how the world's going to shake to and fro because of the impact from all those nuclear detonations and explosions that's going to be happening all over the world, primarily in Babylon, because it's going to be safe zones, places that's not hit, but they will get the witness, and they're even going to feel, the quakes from the impact. And this is all based off of Babylon being destroyed, getting bombarded with missiles. Matter of fact, I believe there's a scripture that says that the earth is going to be moved at their fall. I believe that's in was that Jeremiah 49. So basically, when Esau's world crumbles and it gets destroyed in this thermonuclear war, the entire world is going to be moved. Yep. Jeremiah 49:20. And I'm going to start there because you're going to come to the realization that Amalek, which are the small hats, they're going to be the reason why America is dragged in on each front. Because we know that Ukraine is filled with, the small hats that turn Nazi. All right. If you look up their coat of arms, it actually resembles the Khazarian coat of arm, or their emblem, because they go back to that same said people, that the people of that empire, all right, the Khazarian empire. All right, that's where they basically came from. All right. So you got Ukraine, Amalek is there. And then you also got the Israelis, all right, and them fighting with all the different neighboring Muslim countries, and they're all aligned together just to come against the small hats. And we know that the U.S. has to protect their interests. America is basically, the prostitute that the Zionist pimps and use for muscle. So so they're going to be the reason why the American armies are going to be drawn out all over the place, trying to fight in their war. All right. And it's going to end, pretty ugly. So Jeremiah 49:20, and the point is in 21. It says, therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord that he had taken against Edom, and his purposes that he had purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. And that's the small hats. Okay. They're going to be the ones that draw out, the people that's going to be involved, all of the nations that are involved. Primarily America is going to get dragged in because of, their ongoing conflicts, because nobody get along with them there. They're surrounded by nothing but enemies. That's why it says in Obadiah, I've made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. So America will have no choice but to come, to their defense. All right. And that's what's going to result in Babylon's demise. Trump, he has to kiss the ring. That's why they put him in there. It says, surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And how is the habitation going to be made desolate? Through those nukes. All right. And you can even read further down where it talks about, let me jump down. Actually, it's in the next chapter, Jeremiah 50, but it talks about how all the nations are going to shoot their arrows on her and make her desolate. That's basically how it's going to be done. All right. So it says, verse 21, it says, the earth is moved at the noise of their fall. And this is the fall of Esau's kingdom. The world's going to be moved at the noise of their fall because of the noise and pestilence, those nuclear warheads. All right. It says, at the cry of the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. All right. Behold, it's like you behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle and spread his wings over Basra. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. All right. And when you go to Jeremiah, was it 50? It talks about how the king, heard the report and pretty much waxed feeble, Jeremiah 50:43, it says, the king of Babylon have heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as a woman in travail. All right. Because Trump, which if he's the last one that's going to be in power when this all happens, he's going to fulfill that. All right. He's going to, and his whole entire world is going to be shattered. So he's going to be shook up and terrified. Because that spells the end. Your whole setup, your whole empire is getting ready, is going to crumble. It's going to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. Okay. So, so they already got their war strategy as they're planning ahead, and they're talking about, some around 2030. And the Lord can speed this up. It may not get all the way to 2030. We believe that, it could be sooner. All right. Because the Lord said he's going to shorten the days for the elect's sake. And time is going a lot quicker. Days are going by just like seconds. It says the EU believes Russia could attack at some point around 2030 if Vladimir Putin is successful in Ukraine, and the commission has said the bloc must prepare for a large-scale war with Moscow. Countries are preparing their citizens for a brutal fight with calls for Britain to join the European nations already conscripting their people into growing armies. Civilians are also being prepared in the event of Russian tanks rolling down boulevards and paratroopers dropping onto squares. France is the latest country set to issue an invasion survival how to guide for its citizens. So they're getting, they're getting their minds prepared. They're getting in that space. Over here in America, everybody's still partying. Everybody's still obese and bloated. Everybody's still distracted. Psyop after psyop, scandal after scandal. Etc. So our people, they're not going to know what hit them. This is all going to happen, suddenly, and it's going to be like a thief in the night. Scriptures warn that all throughout the Gospels. So that's why, the Lord has watchmen that's, giving these constant alerts, whether our people hear it or whether they choose to ignore it. It says the 20-page booklet will give advice to French civilians on how to defend the public in the face of an invasion by signing up to reserve units or local defense efforts. It will also have tips on how to create a survival kit with essentials including 6 liters of water, canned food, batteries, and basic medical supplies. Earlier this week, French President Emmanuel Macron revealed French fighter jets equipped with a new generation of hypersonic nuclear missiles are now stationed on the border with allied Germany. Berlin likely sits under the protection of France's nuclear weapons. Macron would fire nukes in defense of his ally if Germany were attacked, as France would consider itself threatened. So, yeah, man. So it's all happening. And the Lord is only preparing them because prophecy has to be fulfilled. All right. This is all for the controversy of Zion. So he's going to line all these nations up and assemble them so that he can actually pour upon them his indignation. So let me get this in Isaiah 13 and verse 4. And it says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. So it's the Heavenly Father that's gathering them and preparing them for the war, which, we read in Revelation 16. It talks about how he's going to prepare the way of the kings of the east, prepare them for battle. It talks about the war of Armageddon or Harmageddon in the Hebrew, which means mountain of the troops. All right. So this is all the Lord's doing because this is how he's going to put an end to this world global structure, this whole entire empire, or Rome 2.0. Okay. So I'll read the next verse. It says, they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. And that's talking about those nukes. Those nukes are the weapons of his indignation. That's the army of the Most High that he's going to use against Babylon. And that's what's going to destroy the entire land. All right. And it talks about in Revelation, in the 10th part of the city fell. Yeah, all of Babylon's going to get leveled. So let me go from there. Let me get Joel 3 and 9. And it says, proclaim you this among the Gentiles, prepare war, right? Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And they all are getting into this mode, on both sides, the beast, as well as those that's on the opposite end, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, and etc. Assemble yourselves and come, all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. That's the Lord pretty much mustering the host of the battle, right? Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh, because he's going to come down with the holy angels in that day. All right, right when it's about to get nuclear, that's when the Lord's going to show up. All right, with the host of heaven, super deep in the sky. All right, coming from the east to the west. All right, and we already know what's going to happen after that. Salvation and the condemnation, the gathering of the elect, and the destruction of the heathen in the 2/3. And all those armies over there in the Middle East, they're going to try to fight with the Lord in the air. You know, Michael the archangel is going to have command, and they're going to run right through them armies. Okay. So, you know, this is just, leading up to that. So it's good that, we catch these articles and we filter it through prophecy as we update you. And like I said, I'll be sure to leave a link to this in the description. And hopefully y'all are edified. I'm give all praise, glory, and honor to y'all. Bashim Yahweh Shai. Shalom.